Hello and welcome. In this video, we will be transforming data that is in a less structured format. Power BI can work with most format of data. And the data we're going to be working with in this video is inside an Excel spreadsheet. This is the data we are going to be transforming. The format of the data at the moment is in a less structured format. Power BI works best with data that is in columns, which are more structured. Makes it easier to create reports and visuals. So the way this data is at the moment, we have like a stepped approach. So we've got the cities here on top. So we've got city called Seattle, Portland, and then we've got Vancouver, and then we've got different product categories. We've got bikes, accessories, and so on. And then underneath that, we've got the values which represent the sales that were made for each of the product category in each of the city. Now, the goal of this video, we're going to format this data, transform it so that it makes it easier to generate reports and visuals using the Power BI desktop. So we're going to reformat this into 4 columns. We're going to have a column for city, a column for category, a column for values, and a column for years. That way it makes it easier for Power BI to create reports and generate visuals. So let's connect to the Excel data source. I'll click on the Get Data link here and we wait for it to pop up, and then make sure you have Excel selected. Click Connect and that will bring up the path. So this is where my spreadsheet is. So I'll click on that and click Open, and that will preview the content of the sheet in this navigator. So to preview it, I just select the checkbox here and that will preview the data. So I'm going to transform this data. To begin, I'll click on the Edit and that will bring up the Power Query Editor. So this is the Power Query Editor. If we look on the right hand side here, we've got the applied steps. This promoted headers and this change type is something that was automatically added. I didn't do this step, so I'm going to remove them for now. I remove this change type and then I'll remove the promoted headers. And now we are left with these. So the column names at the moment are represented as column 1, 2, 3, and so on. I think the last column is column 10. The next thing we want to do here is flip this kind of like table around so that the columns will be represented as the rows and the rows here will be represented as columns. That way we have the city will have its own column, the product category will have its own column. Okay, so to do that, we click on the Transform tab and there is an option here called Transpose. So click on Transpose and you can see here we've got column 1, column 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But if you notice here, because we've flipped it around, what used to be columns is now rows, and what used to be represented as rows is now columns. So you can see here we've got the cities represented on the side here. Any action that we perform during the transformation is recorded under the applied step. So you can see I've just transposed, and you can see it's here saying transposed table. Now, next thing I want to do, I want to use the first row to represent the names of the columns. There are 2 ways you can do that. You can come here where it says use first row as headers, or you can click on the drop down next to the first column and then click on use first row as headers. If I click on that, you can see the columns now are now represented in year, apart from column 1, column 2, the rest are represented in the year. So we've got 2005, 6, 7, and so on. The years have their own column names. Next thing I want to do is rename column 1 this is going to be city because we've got the cities here, and column 2, we're going to rename it as category because we've got the categories here. So I'm going to right click on the column 1 and click on rename, and I'm going to change that to city. I'll do the same with column 2. Click on column 2, click on rename, and I'm going to call column 2, it's going to be the category column, and press enter. So we've now got the columns for the city, and we've also got column for the category. We notice on the city column, we've got some null values. What we can do, we can fill that in so that the data above is replaced with a null value. And there's an option to do that. If you look in the ribbon area, there's this fill option. If we click on the drop down, so we can either fill down or fill up depending on the way the data is flowing. So in this case, I'm going to fill down. So what it is, anywhere there's null, it will be replaced by the values above it. So I'll click down. You can see now we've got all the null values replaced by the values that were above it. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to unpivot all the columns here that have the dates. We're going to unpivot the selected columns by changing them into rows in the data combined with each of the values. So to do that, I'm going to select all the column headers with dates on it. So that's the first one. Just hold down Shift on your keyboard, and then you can select all the others. And then once you've selected them, then we can unpivot the column, and that way it will be combined into rows with the data. So it will make more sense once I've done that. So I've got all the columns selected that's got the date on them, and then I come here in the ribbon area where it's got on pivot columns, click on the drop down and click on pivot. So you can see now all the years now are now turned into rows. I'm going to call this year. This column here, column 12, I'm going to highlight and remove that. I don't need that. So I've now got the data transformed the way I want. You can see all the applied steps. Anytime you're not sure of a step, or if you want to revoke a step, you just can come here and just X out, and that will remove that step. So let's apply these changes. So click on the Home tab, click on Close and Apply, and click on Close and Apply again. That will apply the changes and then bring the model into the Power BI desktop. So these are the different columns inside this model here. So we brought it into the Power BI desktop. All right, so what we can quickly do, we can just create just a quick visualization from this data. So to begin, I can just drag this value here, drop it there, and I will drag the city into there as well. Next, I would drag the category. Okay, so I'm just going to expand this so you can see. So now we've created just a very simple visual, and we're able to see how the data is represented. So we can tell which category had the most sales for each of the city, for which city had the most sale for each category. So if we look here, you can see here that the city of Portland in the category of bikes, that's the amount they sold. And then if we come here, we can see the city of Vancouver in the category of bikes, you can see the value they sold. You can always change the types of visuals you use just by clicking on the different visual options here inside the visualization area. So that is it for this video. In this video, we were able to transform data that was in a less structured format. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.